Hey guys, welcome back to Player Level 4, where we take your game to the next level. Got some exciting news for you guys this week. Got so many spoilers coming out. We got streamer spoilers coming, Forge Watch spoilers coming, but this week we're just going to focus on the ones you already know. This week with us, we got the number 1 seed for the upcoming Forge Watch Invitational. We're going to talk about that, but first, let me introduce Zrandles. Zrandles, number 1 seed on the forums for the Forge Watch Invitational, been playing since closed beta, did really well in the closed beta tournaments as well. Why don't you tell us about yourself, Zrandles, what you think about the game, what your history is for games? Just tell us everything. We want to know.
Well, I'm super excited about SoulForge. I played Magic back in the day, back in 1993. I think I started 92. Then I had a long break and was really excited to see that digital card games are making a pretty strong appearance. And I've sort of just bought in and played nothing but SoulForge. I haven't played Magic the Gathering online, I haven't played Hearthstone or any of the other ones, because I've just been really impressed with how SoulForge plays. I play a lot of other card games, a lot of poker. So I'm really enjoying it so far.
What's your favorite factions?
I think I tend to play control type decks. I think Aloyan is probably my favorite, but I do try to play a variety. Part of that's because the metagame is a little stale, so I'm just exploring every available space.
That sounds pretty sweet. Well, it's really good that we have you on here this week. We're really excited because, good players are always good, have good opinions too. But this week we also have, backed by not so popular demand, but some demand, we have Radrin. How are you doing, Radrin?
I'm doing all right. I'm sorry that nobody likes me anymore. I apologize that I haven't been writing recently. But if you've been waiting to see some more shit that I put out, I just released an article. It's kind of a retrospective on the core set, my review, the metagame, the decks. Just decided to go back and retread and say, here's what I thought and here's what really happened. And I'm actually really, really impressed that I was able to make as many calls that I did. Yeah, it's great to be back as always. Happy to be here. Happy to see that we're making that Stoneblade is making progress with the next release. Been waiting very impatiently. I haven't been playing a lot recently, but I've been keeping up to date with the spoilers and where it's going to go, because my favorite time in tournaments and metagame is happening when we get new cards and I get to just dig in and find like the first broken thing and surprise everybody, just like at the beginning of this metagame. So really looking forward to the Invitational. I'm sure that I'm going to have just a sweet list that is going to push me really far up there, and so really excited.
You're going to win the first constructed tournament again out of nowhere with another variation of AT spells, maybe?
That was the second. Even though the first one did not finish, and so we didn't have a clear winner. So yes, I did actually win the first full tournament, but that's my hope. That's my hope, that I'll be able to foresee what people are playing and find something just a little bit better.
So you're going to be Radrin the one-hit wonder, right?
If it's one, okay, I'm actually okay with that. If it's one hit at the beginning of every set release, I consider that a win.
Fair enough.
At least I'm consistently winning at the beginning of a set release. If I'm not consistently winning at some point during a meta, well, that's when I need to worry.
Yeah, you should.
Fair enough.
Definitely want to keep up with that. It's always a nice achievement.
Well, speaking of which, we're not going to be having any tournaments between when the new set goes live and the Invitational. Why don't you tell us about that, Fox?
Yeah, so we have a delay going on with the Invitational. It was announced recently on the forums that the Invitational will be delayed until after the holidays. So we're looking probably early to mid-January for when the Invitational is for pool play, and then we'll have the top 8 pool. So what do you all think about that? Why don't you start off, Zrandles?
Well, first of all, I think it's clearly the right decision. It's not great that the tournament keeps getting delayed, and I would have been okay even if they had played the qualifiers in the old meta and then gone to the final 8 with the new cards. That would have been okay, not ideal. But this is really the best way to do it. NT Shapers is a pretty good skill testing deck, and I think it would still be a pretty good measure of who can play the best Soulforge. But it's really boring to watch when every single matchup is the same.
It's true.
And that's really important for this tournament because hopefully, especially the Final 8, is going to be bringing in people who've never seen the game and getting them excited and getting them to be the people who will play in the future and contribute money and help keep all this going. So it has to be a good spectator event. And I think having a huge variety of decks is by far the best way for that. It's a side benefit that it's going to be more fun for all the players. But really, I think the most important thing is for all the new players, all the future possible players, for it to be good variety and exciting to watch.
What do you think, Rajan?
Yeah, okay, so all of the top players are very good players, and they know the ins and outs of the top decks. So really, if pool play happened now, really it would just be a whole bunch of coin flips across. I'm not saying that everyone would play NT Shapers. I know that I wouldn't, but I also know that even with my best deck, that it's still like NT Shapers is a coin flip. The proper build of the draw avatar Aloyan deck is kind of a coin flip. So it would just really be a bunch of coin flips. We'd see a bunch of top level play, but we really wouldn't get to see we wouldn't get to see that piece, what I consider a very important piece of deck building savviness, because we have a solved meta, pretty much. We have a solved meta. So basically it would come completely down to skill, but that's not entirely what card games about. Card games are also about being able to read a meta and come up with a sick 30, in this case, a sick deck list that is just going to stomp the meta. So I'm really, really happy to see that it's being delayed. Had it not been delayed, I would have very happily played the 30 that I'm playing, UT Shapers, and quite probably gotten into the top 8. Can't say for sure because, in many ways, a lot of the top decks with the best players, it's coin flip after coin flip. So, giving everybody a chance to reset and come up and see these new cards and come up with their own sweet lists and have them all battle, I really do think that is the best way to go, and I'm glad that was the decision, and so really, really excited for the upcoming Invitational.
My personal opinion is I would have been okay either if we had the tournament at the original date or once we delayed it once. I'm of the opinion that we keep delaying it until the new cards come out. Just flat out, once you made the decision to delay it, the decision should have just been a blanket delay it until the new cards come out. I'm glad that's what we're doing because I would not have supported having delayed it once and then having it come out a week before the patch hits. So very, very, very happy that we're delaying it again. I think this is the best case scenario. I'm very curious about how the top players will do with them being out of shape, so to speak, because there won't be shapers for them to rely on. But puns aside, I agree very strongly with Rajan. I think that there's very few times that you can just play a good deck in the meta and not have to, or there's very few times you can just play a good deck and not have to worry about meta calls. Obviously you're going to know that certain people are going to gravitate towards certain things. You're probably going to expect that maybe Mono Tempes is going to be a thing for a while because people are still in love with Shapers. But outside those outlying expectations, it's the best time to just make an all-around good deck instead of one that has a lot of answers to a meta. So I think it's going to be a challenge for a lot of people who are used to piloting decks that they know are good in meta. It's going to be challenging for a lot of people who aren't that good at deck building but are very good players. And I think it's a great time for us to be doing a podcast because it's, we can report on these things, we can provide information for you guys, and come up with cool ideas. I think it's really good the Invitational is getting extended for all these reasons and more.
I think another good thing about the delay here is that there's the possibility of some new archetypes that we haven't seen before, or ones that have been repressed in this metagame, being able to come forward and take their place in the metagame. So I'm really excited to see what people come up with. I mean, we've had some really sweet previews that we'll be getting to in just a bit, and they all seem pretty awesome. Like some good answers, some good build arounds. I'm really, really excited for what's going to happen. So that is my opinion.
Speaking of which, we the very, very first Aloyan spoiler, a heroic. Rachel, would you like to talk about that one?
The Orion Justicar. He is a human that levels up to 4/7, 8/12, and 14/20. So these stats are actually pretty good. But his ability is sweet. He's it's not Sonic Pulse, Electronet. He's like Electronet on a stick. So whenever a creature an opponent controls enters the field that was not played from their hand, it gets -5 attack, -10 attack, -20 attack. It's a hero card in Aloyan. This is actually like sweet because one thing, you don't need to level it for it to be good. So it can stay. I mean, it does have a good body, but it can stay in your hand. And once you start seeing those Echo Wisps, once you start seeing those Zemuses, you can be like, oh, it's time for me to start playing my Justicars. And you start playing those Justicars, and all of those cards that you're really worried about taking over the game get weakened so much where they can't really overwhelm you. So I think that this is a great answer in Aloyan for some of the more problematic, what could potentially be problematic cards in the meta. So I'm really happy to see this printed, and I think it's actually while being fairly powerful, I think that it's perfectly balanced answer for difficult cards in the format. Zrandles, do you have any thoughts on the Justicar?
I was really happy to see this card. I think the meta can use something exactly like this. It's the long-awaited Zemus counter. But more sadly, Fox's Life Bomb deck is in a lot of trouble with this card.
Oh no! For a little while. For a little while.
But no, I think it's a great card. I think it'll be a very, very common card. Almost any deck playing Aloyan, I think, will at least throw one copy in. There are just so many decks where this is your answer. And like you said, you can play it under leveled. It's got a nice body to go along with it. I think it'll see a lot of play, and I think it'll possibly warp the other decks that are viable in the game.
For me, I'm just really happy to see that we're starting to get proactive answers. I don't like living in the world of Botanime and Dread Bull and things like that. I much prefer the proactive answers. Like, you see them play as Zymus. You can keep this in your hand, so to speak. You can level it. You can do whatever you want. But all you need to do is have this on the board. And then it discourages their play. It might make them not level as Zymus. I mean, I don't think they'll ever not level as Zymus. But, it just changes the way they're playing. And the fact that you already have it on their board means they have to deal with it before they get full value out of their cards. I love the fact that while people call this the Zymus killer, really, honestly, it addresses most of the cards that people complain about. I've said before that I don't think Lyria is a great card. She's a good card, but it addresses her, and a lot of people feel like she's overpowered, especially the newer players. It addresses Echo Wisp, which I think a lot of people think is a frustrating card, at least, back from closed beta days. In the new days, everybody's playing Epidemic, so it hasn't been an issue. But, I mean, it deals with cards like that. It deals with Leafkin Progenitor. It deals with, yes, Zymus. And it deals with them proactively. You no longer have to wait for that Botanimate to show up in your hand. I think this is a great solution. I don't think that the existence of this card means you should no longer play Metasculpt or Botanimate or cards that are actually Zymus killers, but I think it removes that pressure on you to draw that removal immediately. So I'm pretty happy that this is the route that we're answering cards with.
Yeah, this card's really sweet. I really like how it works. I think when we start off the metagame, we're going to have a bit of a knee-jerk reaction that everybody who has copies of it is probably going to be playing it in their deck simply because, everybody's a little bit sick of playing against Zymus for a little bit. But, the fact is, it's a very good card. It won't, in my opinion, throw decks out of the format, but it will allow you to have the tools you need to deal with some of them. So decks like Life Bomb, they are pretty hard to deal with if they get, some really good momentum going. It can stop them from ever getting the momentum going until they deal with it, and I think that's really important. So, Kit, what do you have for us?
I am going to be raising Hellion. We've got a new Hellion coming out. It's at the rare rarity. This feels awkward to say, but it's very much like Rageborn Hellion. In fact, I think it might be better than Rageborn Hellion, but it's a rare. I think for a lot of people this is going to be the new Flame Shaper, as in this is the new powerful card that you can get early and works well with other rares, commons, and heroics. Works really well with a few certain legendaries, but I think it's going to be a new strong card. But let me go ahead and I'll tell you what it is. It is at level 1, a 3/7. At level 2, a 6/12. At level 3, a 9/17. And it gets bigger anytime one of your guys moves. 1, 2, and 4 for each level gating. And it is a wind elemental. So what do you think of this card, Zrandles? How do you feel?
I think this is an extremely strong card, and I think it will be a staple in draft, and I love it. I'm glad that there is a strong card at the rarity. Because it's the kind of thing, like you said, that when somebody just starts the game, there's less complaining, hopefully, about, everybody has legendaries, I can't compete, because this guy looks like a legendary. And he's just as good as a bunch of strong legendaries. So I think it gives people a lot of hope. I mean, his level 2 is ridiculous. 6/12 to start is strong. Maybe not strong, but it's a reasonable body to begin with. And he will grow very, very quickly, often before the opponent has a chance to respond at all. He'll be a 10/16 first turn a lot of times. That'll be really hard to deal with. I think we'll be seeing a lot of this guy in the next few months.
Yeah, I'm. This card is sweet. Like this is going to be like a number one reason to jump into Tempe's and draft. I'm glad to see this at rare because it's another strategy that people who like to play the unheroic format can build around, and even like not in unheroic, you can start. I mean, you're playing Stormbringer in unheroic or anything else. You're playing like Windborn, or what is it called? Windcaller Shaman. And moving it around or moving other things around, and it just gets bigger. I mean, like Stormbringer is probably going to proc this card 3 times by itself. I mean, it's ridiculous. So I think this is a very strong aggressive card. Cards that I want to see played with it. I'm fumblingly trying to look up the card right now, but the spell that gives it move and 3 damage when it moves. Yeah, Fervent Assault. Like Fervent Assault, which is a card which is already constructed playable in my opinion. Like on this is ridiculous because it gets bigger, it clears the creatures that are in front of it, and it just allows it to keep on moving and getting in there. It's just going to be big and hard to deal with. So this is a fantastic card that has amazing synergy with the entire Tempe's faction. And you want to. Let's look into other factions. I mean, Necrium, you've got Grimgaunt Predator and Doomwing. Like, maybe this is a reason why people would actually want to start playing Doomwing again, which is a card that I think is actually still very powerful, but the low health and the fact that it's weak to Epidemic, which is played a lot right now, has made it hard to justify it. And, you have to level it to get its ability, but even if you don't level it now, you have something that it will help to just play and move it. So, this card is great. I'm really happy to see it. I like that it is rare versus any other rarity. I expect to see it a lot in like the lower random queues, and I bet that and this is actually going to probably be an entry point for newer players who want to play constructed tournaments, being able to take their Windborn Hellions and their other Tempe's Mover cards and get them into the constructed queues and playing, and we're going to have a really healthy constructed format where there's always somebody who wants to play a tournament. So yeah, this is great. I'm happy to see it.
I want to point out that I'm really sad that you neglected to mention Garmgunt Spectre as a Necria mover.
Yes, that's not a card.
Please,
it actually is a card.
maybe in draft.
No, it's a card that exists in constructed. Doesn't mean it's played
I'm
right
sorry,
now.
it is a card that exists in constructed. We just never put it in any of our games.
All right, Fox, what do you think?
My personal opinion is I love the fact that this card is a rare. I feel like, having build-around cards at the lower rarities really makes it a lot easier for, powerful build-around cards, makes it easier for free-to-play players and new players to find things that, get them excited, make them want to play more. And it's a good card. And so, by having this card, it synergizes really well with a lot of cards that already exist in the faction, that they're already going to have some of. So they're going to be happy to put this in the deck, start building around it. It's not going to be too hard to get other cards. And I think it's perfect as well that, it's coming at exactly the right time, because it's coming with draft and constructed queues. And so it will be a lot easier to get a hold of, other cards, find ways to put your collection together and still, put them to use. Have them bring things in for you. Have them help build your collection even more. And so I think this is a perfect card. I think it's coming at the right time, and I can't wait to see what it does.
I personally think that this is exactly what was missing from set 1. Build around rare cards that are solid cards on their own. I really wish we had cards like this to build around instead of the Shapers, because I feel like cards that are meant to be utility and value cards are really hard to give new players as build-around cards, because they can't really capitalize on them. So you have to make them really good so they want to play them, and then that makes players like Zrandles here end up playing Shapers in top-tier tournaments. I would much rather see a card like this, something that is still answerable at the rare level by tons of cards. You can throw a Blightwalker in front of this. You can Energy Prison this. These are the kind of cards that grow, cards that can win the game on their own, but they are not suffocating. This is exactly what I want to see in the hands of new players. This card easily can win the game by itself, and yet never feel suffocating. So I'm very happy about this. That said, on the stream this week, we got a new spoiler. Mr. Kibler spoiled a new Necrium card. Why don't you tell us about that, Fox?
Alright, so I personally love this card, because it's a really, really, really special card in my opinion. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you guys what it is, then I'm going to get out of the way and let you all talk about it. So, the name is Tarsus Deathweaver. It is a 5/6, then a 9/10, then a 15/16, and its ability reads: when a creature you control enters the field, if it wasn't played from your hand, it gets +2/+2, +4/+4, +6/+6. Zrandles, take it.
Well, so the two cards we just talked about, we said they're both good. But this guy is bonkers. He is out of control.
It's so true.
He has the stats of the old Packmaster, who is also out of control. But it's just so strong. I think this card, maybe more than Zemus, will make Justicar a must-add for Aloyan decks. I mean, because that is the one very solid answer to this. But I mean, just a Phyto Bomb at level 2, suddenly your board is filled with 5/5s. I think this will be all over. This will be one of the strongest cards in the set so far. And yeah, I think your deck will have to have an answer to this, and there aren't that many. I mean, he's not Dreadboltable, he's not Cullable. He's just going to be really strong.
Did you just say cuddleable?
He might be cuddly. He might be cuddly or cuddleable, but not cuddleable.
My thought there was that he almost said gullible. He'll be gullible.
He'll be palpable for a lot of losses. That's for sure.
You know, nothing rhymes with badonkadonk. This is pissing me off.
Yes.
But yeah, I think he'll combo well with a ton of stuff. Obviously, Death Seekers and Keeper of the Damned on something, and then suddenly it's huge when it comes back. Soul Harvest with that, just lots of juicy possibilities with this guy.
All right, Rajan, what do you think?
Very, 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 very tasty. Yes. So this is like first pickable in draft. Just using like, oh come on, just using like the draft, the online draft thing that who made that anyway?
Gutter.
Okay, yeah. So using his draft simulator, like I would see this, I would slam it because both Necreum and Terra have so many cards. All of the zombies, the Death Seekers, I would even consider. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I would even consider playing Hunting Pack with this card just because the large creatures it makes would be so good. Ether Hounds? I mean, come on, Ether Hounds. I don't like Ether Hounds, but with this, I mean, those hounds are a threat. This card's ridiculous. I love it.
Well,
besides Justicar, how are we going to answer it? I mean, we can't lock it in place with Energy Prison, so you have to use Justicar. Otherwise you're going to have your opponent, like, you're going to have to hope that your opponent plays it and then plays like, does anyone know what the actual card type is? Is it human? Is it zombie? Like, what is this?
I will look it up while we're still talking. Sorry.
Sweet. So yeah, I mean, like, you pretty much have to hope that they're going to play this and then not play something that capitalizes its ability immediately.
Human Necromancer.
Oh, okay. So at least it's not a zombie. But yeah, so I mean, this is a must deal with card. And its early game stats, 5, 6, 9, 10, those are huge. 15, 16 at level 3, not so huge, pretty easy to deal with most cards, but the rest of the time, I mean, this is early game pressure, and this makes cards that are built around it very good, and there are so many other cards that love cards like your Ether Hounds or your Phytobombs. I mean, people are going to be playing this and Roar and Epidemic, and it's going to be a great synergy deck, and it's going to be sweet to see where it goes.
So I have to say, in response to what Rajan said, if this was first pickable, if I had to choose between this and Heroic, I would almost pick this over. I can think of maybe 6 Heroics I wouldn't pick this over. But other than that, I mean, I would pick this over almost every Heroic and a good handful of Legendaries. I think this card is bonkers. We've seen how good 6, 10, and 16 toughness is by seeing how much Shapers have dominated. Like, yeah, I get what Rajan says that most cards can deal with 16 toughness, but I mean, it's still usually going to be 2 combats for the average level 3 card if they're normal depreciation cards or even low depreciation cards. But I love how this kind of powers balance. This is directly a synergy card. It's not a card that's threatening on its own, and it's a card that generates hard decisions. Do I kill the card getting bigger by this? Do I kill the Leafkin Progenitor? Or do I kill the Tarsus Deathweaver that's making my Leafkin Progenitor insane? I mean, this is exactly the type of power I'd like to see. A card that by itself is, just a 15-16, but it makes your other stuff really good. I would have loved to have mentioned Phytobomb, but I think everybody else has already mentioned that, and that's the obvious comparison. Like, you just make your Phytobomb, like, you play this with Phytobomb, and it's like a level 1 Phytobomb is suddenly a 4-proc Hunting Pack, really, because they're all 3/2s after your opponent's combat. Like, it doesn't even matter if your opponent has a Ferocious Roar or an Epidemic, you're still killing their side of the board. It means that, just playing a Phytobomb is no longer has the opportunity to backfire on you with this guy. So, my question is, and since you're going to be the next one to talk, Fox, is, are we going to see a switch from Life Bomb over to, like, Life and Death Bomb? What's going to go on there?
Well, in this case, I would call the Utera Necreum deck Death Bomb. Just straight up Death Bomb because, he's a Deathweaver. Life Bomb came from Lifeblood Dryad, so... but there's a very good chance that this might be the better version of the deck once this card is out. I mean, the Utera Tempest version that I've been playing currently has had a lot of power. You know, you have Static Shocks and things like Call the Lightning. You have some other sweet cards. You got Sparked for, pushing through that last few points of damage. It's really good, and I really like how it works. But the synergies that this one allows, more than anything else, more than Grimgaunt Devourer, more than Epidemic, more than Soul Harvest, this card makes me want to play Necreum with Phytobomb. This card this card alone.
Yeah, it takes the place of 3 cards in the deck.
Oh, you can just play them in addition.
Well, right, but I meant your entire your entire Tempest part of the deck. This replaces all of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, you could just play this with Utera, just this, maybe Rite of Grimgaunt, because you're playing so many creatures, but this and then a whole bunch of Utera stuff.
Yeah, an initial look here is I probably have 9 pumps with this. So say you've got Tarsus Deathweaver, Ferocious Roar, and Lifeblood Dryad. And then along with that, you've got some Soul Harvest, Phytobombs, Wildwood Sowers, you've got your Epidemics, and you've got Devourer, and then you've got just a few cards to fill it out, maybe Aetherhounds. And Echo Wisp, and you're good to go.
My last question, since, you're the closest one to have a list that works with this, does this make Hunting Pack Constructed playable in your eyes, Fox?
Ooh. That's a good question.
Say no! Say no!
I actually think it might.
Adrian just doesn't want to go against Hunting Pack. I see how it is.
Hunting Pack is already pretty good in draft. In my
opinion.
There goes
the credibility of our podcast right out the window.
Okay, you and I have proved that on stream.
So I got 2 things to wrap up with before we go to draft. The first is I did have to throw a badonkadonk joke in here for you guys, and that's because 2 of the cards we spoiled. One of them, Orient Justicar, only leaves your Zymus with a badonkadonk, and Tarsus Deathweaver just pads up that badonkadonk. Sorry. All right, so to wrap up, as usual, we're going to go ahead and do our pack, your pick. We decided to tamper with things this week because we're coming into draft. We wanted to make a really, really, really strong draft pack, so that way you could see really hard decisions. So this week we have Call the Lightning, Flesh Fiend, Scrapforge Titan, Battle Tactician, Ferocious Roar, and Epidemic. All very high-quality picks, all cards that I would consider in the top quarter of first pick cards. So I definitely think these are all very strong cards, and I leave it to you, Zrandles. You take the lead.
All right. Well, I agree that these are all top 10-ish. But okay, first of all, if I see Call the Lightning, if I see any legendary in the first pack and I don't own it, I'm probably just going to take it and try to build a fun deck around it. Doesn't really matter what it is. I like that about Soulforge. You don't have to play every card every game, and if you draw it and it's dead occasionally, fine. So, if I'm just playing to win, I don't take Call the Lightning. But if I don't have it, I take it. Among the others, I think I have to take Epidemic. It's good no matter what else I draft, as are Ferocious Roar and Tactician. But I think it just has... It's the card I'm least happy to see if I'm on the other side, probably.
What about you, Adrian?
This is so tough. I mean, I would... Yeah, I mean, I would take any of these, but I'm kind of torn between Ferocious Roar and Flesh Fiend, because Flesh Fiend is just a bomb that can end games. It gets so much value late game, but I think that I'm going to actually tend towards the Ferocious Roar, because Ferocious Roar makes any draw that it's with good. It doesn't matter if it's all level 1s, it's going to make anything that I draft better. So even if I get subpar creatures, the Ferocious Roar is going to make them able to battle. And it doesn't matter what my opponents are playing, my Ferocious Roar is always going to be good. So I think that and plus it ends games by itself. You have a creature, you give it you keep on playing your Ferocious Roar, now you're giving your creatures +5/+5 and breakthrough. it makes your weak creatures better, and it makes your good creatures end the game. So I think that Ferocious Roar, just because it plays all of the roles, it's a bomb, it's a removal spell, and it's a pump spell, and it's too good for me to pass up.
Fair enough. For me, this pack's so good. Like, you've got an upgrade, you've got Call of the Lightning. Now, that's already a pretty good card as is, though it doesn't see a lot of play in Constructed, but it can make things that, normally wouldn't trade really good. So, like, if I took that, I'd be looking for things with big butts and, we'd play Kit Stack. Flesh Fiend is good value. Scrapforge Titan is a huge bomb and the perfect faction for it. Tactician, it just makes everything good. Ferocious Roar makes everything good. And Epidemic makes all your opponent's things bad. But I think for me it'd be Battle Tactician, simply because, you can draft Battle Tacticians, possibly pick up some Utera cards or some cards with big butts, and you've got that card sitting there, you pump a little bit, and you're good to go. You don't have to worry about anything else. You just let things die on the other side of the board while your entire board stays alive and they have to deal with everything you're doing, and you get really far ahead. So that's my pick. Battle Tactician all the way.
So I do gotta go out and knock Fox's ego down a little bit. I want to let you guys all know that Fox made this pack, so when he says it's a good pack, he's really just being excited for himself. So Fox, go ahead and give yourself a pat on the back. All right, so
Fox found a bunch of good cards and you put them in a pack.
So
Don't worry,
riffing aside, I'm actually really happy. This is, the pack did what it was supposed to do. We actually have 3 genuine different decisions, which I think is the first time we've ever had that on an R Pack Your Pick. Makes me tempted to go Call the Lightning, so we all have different things, and I actually would be tempted just because it's a legendary, but I personally would take Battle Tactician as my pick. I can't, I mean, when in doubt, take a body. It's a body that, sort of does the same thing as Ferocious Roar. Not really, but sort of. Like, it makes your guys trade up, and it also sits there really, really powerfully. Tactician's just going to be the card I pick. It's really close. The next card I want to take is Epidemic, but, it's got to be Tactician, and I can't really give you a better reason than Fox did for that. It's just like small percentage points. It's like one, maybe like 0.1% better than the other ones in my eyes. But also I really like Aloyan, so there's that. But anywho, moving on, we have for Zrandles the Necreum pack, which consists of Rhymehorn Charger, Cavern Hydra, Zarath, Dread Knight of Varna, Darkheart Wanderer, and another legendary, Taliesin Bard of Abundance, which, may or may not actually be of a benefit in draft when you can't abuse it. But what do you think?
Well, if we're just talking utility, I don't take Taliesin. I think he's very difficult to build around successfully, and there's almost no way you can do it in draft. But I might take him anyway if I wanted him for my collection, or if I could trade him later. But for this pack, I think I throw out Rhymehorn Charger and Cavern Hydra right away, because I can get those later pretty easily, and they're not must-haves. And so choosing between Zarath and Darkheart, I think Zarath is actually viable in draft. I think there are enough zombies and that you don't need a ton to make him work really, really well. I actually wrote a post about this in the forums at some point, making that argument. But
subtle plug.
I think I'd probably take Darkheart Wanderer, because in draft it just seems a lot more valuable to be able to go huge on one thing. And if I take Darkheart, then I probably go into Utera for pumps. And hope to set up a deck that gets him out of control. And the good thing about that is that going for the pump spells also works really well. Like if I do pick up a Cavern Hydra later, that can also be a target. And I think it'll be a pretty common strategy in draft. And I think it'll be a fairly strong one.
I definitely agree. Radrin, I got, you took Ferocious Roar, so you're going to get the Utera pack. This one looks fairly weak.
I was going to say, this is a sad pack. So
yeah,
I very
Infantry, Death Seeker, Jetpack, Deep Branch Ancient, and Druid's Chant.
Okay, so I very purposefully did not look at the follow-up picks when I made my pick, because I didn't want to be biased. So now seeing this pack for the first time, I am a sad panda. Very sad panda. So, going off of this, Deep Brand Ancient is not. I just don't feel like it's a card in draft. Like I could take it and then try to force as many Ether Hounds and stuff, and just hope that I'm going to get it to trigger. But and granted, I am going to be trying to get a lot of those cards because I do have a Ferocious Roar, and it's going to be good with that Ferocious Roar. But straight up, I think that because I'm going to be wanting to play those cards and Ferocious Roar, I would just much rather have the body of the Zombie Infantry. Maybe. Oh gosh, this is hard. So if I took a Zombie Infantry, I could hope to cast it with my Ferocious Roar and just like have early 8/7 or have. I mean, it does scale up. It gets pretty big. Like it's just pretty big by itself. But if I wanted to go in deep and take Deep Branch Ancient and stay open in my second.
Was that an attempt at a pun?
Oh, you're so punny.
Actually, it wasn't, but sometimes they slip out anyway. The puns will grow on you. It's okay. It's okay. Just like the Deep Branch Ancient with all of these Ether Hounds and stuff. So actually, the Deep Branch Ancient pick is actually growing on me. Staying open, seeing if I get better cards in the other factions. Yeah, okay. I'm going to go with the Deep Branch Ancient because I know that I'm going to be getting Ether Hounds, and I know that I'm going to be getting I can't believe I'm saying this, the hunting packs.
Kit, we have a convert.
Gosh, that just hurts me.
We have a convert.
I will take Ether Hounds over a hunting pack every single time. But yeah, I think Deep Branch Ancient, hoping for those cards that will hit multiple lanes and just hope for the extra. This is my fifth lane card. Deep Branch Ancient. Okay, let's go. And I'm going to want to stay open for the next pack because these other cards do not excite me in any way, shape, and form. So hopefully, if I can try and stay open for the rest of this pack, or I will see another card in another faction that is better than what I'm seeing in Necrium here, and just go for that. And that will be my second faction pick. So I'm going to stay in Utera, and I'm going to pick the Deep Branch Ancient.
Do you guys like staying open in your second pack, and just as a general rule?
It depends on what my first pick was.
Yes.
Like, I really, really, really like going with the rare synergies. So if, like, when I really like banding Necrium Utera together. I absolutely love banding those two together. So I really try, if I can't get a good card for one of those factions, I'll hold out until I can. But other than that, I mean, it really depends. Like, sometimes I'm all for building a Steelforged Avatar deck, especially if I get one in the first pack, because it's such a strong Avatar. So I will just, until I get a good supporting card, I'll just keep driving Steelforge, or I'll just snag a card early if there's no good online ones, just to make the pack seem more 50-50 on it. That's my perspective.
Yeah, for me, staying open is entirely about, do I like what I see in this faction? If not, wait until I see something I like in the faction. Like, that's really all it is for me. I'd much rather see powerful cards and have that define my factions than be like, okay, I'm going to force this faction synergy and and hope it works out. I'd much rather see a powerful card and know that I have a powerful card within a faction before I jump into it.
Yeah, same
Foxy?
with me. I agree with you.
I think with the new Windborn Hellion that was spoiled, I think my preference would be that if I went Tempe's, I would hope I would get that, and I would deliberately not draft Utera as the only faction that doesn't have move creatures.
Well, that makes sense. That makes
so,
sense. I mean,
so I think that would be like, unless my first pick is Firefist Uranti, and then I'm clearly wanting Utera. But
yeah,
you know,
yeah. I mean, these are cards that are exceptions to the rule.
right. So
I-
Fox, wait, unless Zrandles, did you have anything you wanted to add to that, or you have a perspective?
No, I haven't really formed a strong opinion either way. I think there's some advantage to waiting, but yeah, I think you guys covered most of it.
Awesome. Well, Fox, you took the Aloyan pack. That leaves you with Storm Forged Avatar, Bot Animate, Auk Waddick Embrace, Neck Rodic Worm, and Trogdor. Scorchmage.
Trogdor. Something to that effect, right? So
Please add that to the soundtrack later.
Yep. But I mean, pretty clearly here for me, the pick is Scorchmane Dragon. The card is just really, really strong. I'm already in Aloyan, so I can skip that level 1 pretty easily with Technosmith. I've got Battle Tactician, so it makes it even better because who knows, maybe my 2/6 can trade with something, which would be pretty sweet. But if Scorchmane Dragon was not in this pack, my pick would probably be Botanimate. It's just a good card in general. It's, premium removal, and in limited, premium removal is, at a premium. So, but yeah, I take Scorchmane Dragon. Easy upgrade. It's a very good card. I'm in the right faction for, my preference for it already. But, second pick is always going to be Botanimate there.
For me, I've got the same pack. I will say that with every faction in my first pick except Utera, I would take Scorchmane Dragon. In Necreum, I have the ability to defend it. In Aloyan, I have the ability to level past the first stage really easy. In Utera, I don't really have the ability to defend until I get that. I mean, I would probably still take it, it's just a bomb, but I'd be very tempted to take the Botanimate if I was Utera. But still, it's clearly going to be Trogdor. I mean, I'm already in... Anywho,
are we going through Fire the Flames here, or
my egg is going to be a 2/6 with my first pick, and some people might not agree with that, and I don't think it would be wrong if you were Ruterra to take Scorchmane Dragon. Clearly, I'm not, so I'm taking it. But I think that there's some merit to exploring what's better synergies for your faction, and having all the Scorchmane Dragons that Jake Almighty wishes he has. I don't think I need another one, so my opinion lends itself to what's more likely to win me a draft. And I don't know. I mean, if I miss that player level 1, if I don't draw player level 1, it's going to be really hard to justify playing an egg in player level 2 for Utera. Whereas Botanimate, at least they'll still have some targets in player level 2. And again, this is if I was Utera. In Necreum or Aloyan or base Tempes, I take it no matter what. Very clearly.
So what you're saying is that in Aloyan, where the Scorchmane Dragons rule. Dragon Force reference? Anyone? No? Okay, we're done. Moving on.
Alrighty. So, just as a recap, you will be getting many spoilers over the next 2 weeks. I hope you guys enjoy them. I know Forge Watch and Player Level 4 are going to have their own exclusive spoilers as well. We've got a really cool legendary to show off, and personally, my favorite card I have ever seen that we're going to be spoiling on Player Level 4. Literally my favorite card in the entire set, and it's a common. So you'll have that to look forward to over the next couple weeks, and you guys, have a great day. Hope your game's been leveled.
One thing, Kit, before we end, can you also tell them what the Tempest pack was?
Nobody picks Tempes.
Somebody does.
I'm gonna start picking Tempes just to prove you
Just
wrong.
to spite you, Kit. Just
Water
to spite
Walker, Glacial Colossus, Palladium Pulse Mage, which remember got a buff recently, Aegis Conscript, and Life Shaper Savant.
Alright.
Tasty Pulse Mages.
Actually, that buff is really significant.
So good. Oh man.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, now that we've shown you guys the last pack for the sake of completeness, I'm going to go ahead and take us on out. So, everybody, thanks for being here. It was really great. We had a lot of good discussions, lots of exciting things happening, and I look forward to seeing this patch soon because, well, yeah, I'm going to be drafting all day, every day.
Oh, speaking of which, I'm going to be doing a 12-hour marathon of drafting when drafting comes out, so hope to see you guys all there.
And I'll be joining him.
Nice.
Just to give an opposing voice on some picks. Other than that, though, it's probably going to be that. So, say goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye.
Bye, guys.
All right, see y'all later.
The last thing on Windborn Hellion. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it.